Okay, so Lucky Man off of the debut album by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It's been on my list for a long time, but with Keith Emerson's passing, it just all sort of, I think it's just a good time to do it. It was actually written by Greg Lake when he was like 12 years old. The first song he ever wrote. And it was the last song on the album. I'll actually leave a link in the description box below. It's to a clip of an interview with him, and it's a really interesting backstory to how this song came about. So instead of me explaining it, just watch that clip. It's really cool, really interesting. Anyways, in the demo that's in the separate video, there's a link to that up top here, the performance that I did. It's just compressed version of the song. And I tried to do it as close to the original as I could. There's two guitar parts, one on the left channel, one on the right channel. It's all arpeggiated, and it's actually quite complicated for such a simple song, right? So, I'll run through both those parts now, but also I'm going to show you a real simple way of doing it later on. I'll show you a couple of different ways you can do it just strumming. Sort of like how he did it live back in the day. Anyway, so we're in the key of D. For this first part, we're in just standard tuning. And the song is basically just like just a G to a D. Okay, and then an A minor, E minor, D. And that's pretty well it. But the picking is what makes it kind of tricky. I'll just play it for you. So it starts on that G note here on E3, and we're going to do that G chord. We don't need that there, okay, the third, that A2. We're just going to play it like that without that first finger at all. But we need that to hammer on here, right? So it's that bottom note, and then arpeggiate it from the D string down, right? And then hammer on to that E note on D2. And really the essence of it are these notes. Right? And then you arpeggiate in between. Hammer on, and then open. And there's a little down up in strum in between there. I'll do it real slow. There. Just like the G string, and then upstroke on the B and the E. Open D string, and then we're going to hit this chord. It's the D with the F sharp in the bass, and you pretty well have to use the thumb over here, and we're just going to hit that bottom note. So and then that's just straight arpeggio, then back to this. So up to speed, it's okay, so that's basically the essence of it. And then when we get to the chorus, we're just going to go A minor, E minor, then D, A minor, E minor, D. Okay, and the strumming on that is da 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 da, down down up down down, down down up down down. When we get to this D chord, we're going to do this lick. And that's da, 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 da. Right? But all the while holding that chord. And then just sort of back-to-back licks. right? So the licks together, but doing it with the chord. Right? And then we ended up with, and then we just repeat. Now later on in the song there's some he does some variations on that, but pretty well that's the basis of that left channel guitar, which I sort of consider the main guitar. Okay, so now let's go into the right channel guitar. And that one, in my opinion, is in drop D. So we want to drop that E string down to a D note. Okay, and how that works is he starts on that G chord, and you're going to play a G like this with, it's like D5 and B3 G, B3 E3, and the open G, right? All right, and we're going to pick it like this. I'll just play it one time. Okay, really cool part, and it's actually surprisingly tricky to play. So what we're going to do is just, I'll play it real slow, just the G. We've got three Gs, a G here, an open G, and a G there. So we're going to go straight across and back and down again. Except we're going to fret this note on E5 instead of playing that G3, right? And we go back down to the open G. So really slowly, I just show the picking. And then we're going to come to this, which is just a D chord, right? It's like a D bar chord, but open D string, G7, B7, E5. So coming out of this real slow, and then we're going to go. Okay, just straight arpeggio, forward and back, and then once we get back to the B string, to transition to this chord again, we're going to hit the open G. So we're going to go. Right there, and that gives us time to move down to this chord. If you went right, if you landed that last note on that D note on G7, you're going to have a hell of a time getting down to that, because you just won't have time to do it, right? But by hitting the open G, you have plenty of time to get back down there. Slowly, those parts sound like this. And they just repeat, but the last time, right, just goes down to that open D, and there's a bit of a rest there. And now instead of strumming the A minor, E minor, D, he's just going to go, he's just going to one stroke them, right? And because we're now in drop D, the E minor is going to be like this, right? So we're going to have to fret here on E2, E2 and A2, right? And then D, we can hit all 6 strings, which, you know, always sounds so good, right? So it's just holds, right? It does it again. And then just repeat that, right? And that's really the only two sections in that right channel part. But really great part, you know, because you have all those G's. And what I find when I was playing this part, I changed my tuning. What I did basically is I sharped up that E string a little bit, and I flatted the B string just a bit, because that chord there is always a challenge on your intonation on the guitar, right? Like you can hear how that's a little sharp there, right? You know, just slightly, but it makes that chord sound better if your E string's just a bit sharp there, right? Okay, so that's pretty well it for those parts. In this part, there's some variations too, like when it gets into the guitar solo and whatnot, but that's basically the essence of both those parts. So now, if you want to play it just strumming version, okay, and I'll show you this tuning first. This is in drop D, right? So what we're going to do here, I'll show you the way he plays it in that live video. The G chord in drop D is here, right? It's A5 or E5, A5, and you just sort of naturally mute that D string when you make that chord. I mean, if you can get it to ring, great, but if not, no big deal. Open G, and then B3, E3, just barred there, right, with that first finger. So that's your G chord. You know, it's really strong sounding G, because there's no thirds in there, right? It's just root and fifth. So that's your first chord. Then he just goes to, in the video, right, the live video, he just goes to just a D chord. So okay, so you can see how powerful that is, right? Now, the thing is, though, in this version, you don't get that lick, right? Okay. But a way around that, you don't get the entire lick, but it's instead of hitting the open D, is to hit this chord here, which is a D, right? We're just playing it that way, barring here, right? D, same thing. But putting our third finger here to get that third, right? So we would go. Okay, so we're getting the same sort of voicing as what's on the record. It sounds better to me to do that. Then when we hit that, that D with the low D there, it just sounds awesome, right? Because we kind of hold off, because to me that low D is the money. When you hit that, it's like, whoa, that's just awesome. Okay, so your G, and then that's your D over an F sharp bass, third in the bass, and then A minor, E minor, okay, so that's the way to play it in open D, and that's probably the way I would play it if I was doing this on my own. But if we're going to play it in standard tuning, we can do it like this, right? Without all the picking, we would just go. So it's the same thing, right? Except just eliminating all the picking, right? So, Okay, so that's how you do it in standard tuning. So the benefit of doing it in standard is you get to go, you get that, right? But you don't get that nice drop D, you know, when you hit that chord, because of course that's E, right? So you kind of sacrifice that. So like I said, I would, if I was playing this by myself, I would definitely and you can hear how full and big that sounds, right? Okay, so that's pretty well it. So we've covered both the parts from the recorded version and two different ways of playing it, just strumming wise. Okay. All right, so I hope you enjoy playing this song. I think it's just a fantastic song. It's probably their most loved song and probably gets the most airplay between this and From the Beginning. And if you're interested in From the Beginning, I've done a lesson on that too, so I'll probably leave links in the video and in the description box below to that. And I also did the other one, Still You Turn Me On. 3 really awesome songs. Anyways, I hope you get something out of it. Hope you enjoy playing this song, and we'll talk to you next time.